بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد سيد الأولين والآخرين وحبيب رب العالمين. Praise be to Allah, the Lord of the universe. We ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to raise the rank of our Master Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and to protect the nation of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam from that which he feared for it. We will talk today about the three types of kufur. The scholars, they said that know that kufur is of three different types. One of the types of kufur is kufur beliefs, al-i'tiqadat al-kufriyah, and another type of kufur is kufur sayings, al-aqwal al-kufriyah, and another type of kufur is al-af'al al-kufriyah, the doings that are considered to be kufur. Now, there is something very, very important that people need to understand. Many people seem to think nowadays that once you're a Muslim, born in a Muslim household, then they seem to think that that's it, it's set in stone. That the only way that you would leave al-Islam is if you were to take by a different religion. In this case, a person would be considered, yes, a non-Muslim, but also there is another aspect to it. So look, if a person becomes a Christian, then they are a kafir. If a person was a Muslim and they become a Jew, then they are a kafir. They've left the religion of al-Islam. If a person becomes an atheist, then they are a kafir. They have left al-Islam. But that's not the only way. There is another way that a person might fall out of al-Islam, and that is if they say something, do something, or believe something that is against the religious rules, then they would commit kufur. So even if a person still wants to be a Muslim, because of something they say, they might fall out of al-Islam. Because of something that they do, even though they want to stay a Muslim, because of something that they do, they would fall out of al-Islam. Or because of something that they believe. So this is important. Just because a person is born into a Muslim household, and just because a person is has a Muslim name, and they do Islamic practices, and just because they want to be a Muslim, that is not enough for them to be safe in the hereafter, because they need to learn about what the kufriyat are so that they can stay away from them. So we're going to speak a little bit about the kufriyat today. Now, who classed these types of kufr into three? Who is it that said that kufr is of three types? Now, this is not merely down to the opinions of some people. Rather, the classification of kufr into the three classes, the three different types, was taken from the verses of the Quran. So, and from the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, meaning that a person may say something, do something, or they may believe something which results in them leaving al-Islam, even if they wanted themselves to stay Muslims. Right? So where is this taken from? Now, all the rules of the religion are taken from the source, the base, the foundation is the Quran and the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So there are ayahs in which, there is an ayah in which it is mentioned, لا تسجدوا للشمس ولا للقمر. Don't prostrate, don't do sajda to the shams, to the sun, nor to the qamar. Likewise to the moon, because it is kufr to do sajda to the sun or the moon, and so on. It is kufr to do sajda to anything that is not a human, anything other than Allah. It's not permissible to do, firstly, let's look at it like this. It's not permissible, it's not allowed for someone to do sajda to other than Allah. This is not permissible. Okay? To do sajda to something like the sun or the moon, or for example, an animal or a wall or a tree, this is kufur. Now, you see, this was mentioned, this rule was taken from this part of the ayah in the Quran. لا تسجدوا للشمس ولا للقمر. And also there are ayahs within the Quran in which it is mentioned that some people said كلمة الكفر وكفروا بعد إسلامهم أو بعد إيمانهم. They committed kufr after having been Muslims. They said words that led them out of al-Islam, even if they had wanted to stay Muslims. I'll give you an example. Like if someone swears at Allah, wal-'iyadhu billah, or they swear at a prophet, or they swear at an honorable angel, all angels are honorable. They swear at an angel, or they swear at something, they insult something that Allah gave a high status to in the religion. Then whether they wanted to remain Muslim or not, they become a kafir. Even if their name was Muhammad or Ahmed or Fatima or Zainab, even if their second name was Khan, for example, or their second name was Hussein, or their second, and so on, even if they had what looks like a Muslim name, and they were born into a Muslim family, their parents are Muslims, if they say certain things, like insult things within the religion, then they become a kafir. And the only way for them to return to al-Islam is by realizing that what they've done is kufr and not wanting it for themselves while saying La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. To take the two shahadas, to say kalimatay shahada, to say the two testifications of faith, then they would become a Muslim. Now, so there are things that if you do them, actions that are kufr. Like for example, for someone to deliberately throw a religious book in the bin, to throw the name of Allah in the bin, right? Or to throw the Quran in the bin, or wal-'iyadhu billah, to sit on the Quran, or to sit on something else, to put the Quran on one's foot, wal-'iyadhu billah min al-kufur, to put the name of Allah on one's foot, to step on a religious book, all of these things are kufur, and they are actual actions that are kufur. A person might do that. So to do that deliberately, on purpose, knowing that it is the Quran, for example, that would be kufur. It takes a person out of al-Islam. Likewise, for example, if a person, I don't know, if somebody was to take some religious material and, for example, contaminate it with something filthy. To take something religious and contaminate it with najasa. Like what some people do. I'll give you an example of what some people do, which is kufur. What they do is they take urine, they might take urine, and then they write, and they probably think they're doing something good. But that doesn't matter. Just them thinking that they're doing something good, that doesn't matter. They should have learned. Some people, they may take urine and they might write the name of Allah with it. And that is kufur. Isn't it that only a kafir would do that? Because writing the name of Allah in urine, is that something that is considered glorification of the name of Allah? Wala. Writing the name of Allah in rose water, okay, that is something pleasant, good. Writing the name of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala in parts of musk, in water, that in white musk, that's something beautiful. Writing the name of Allah in pure ink, okay, that's something good. But writing the name of Allah in urine, isn't that taking the mick? Isn't that making a mockery? Isn't that belittling the name of Allah? Likewise, if somebody is ill and they get urine and they write out Al-Fatiha, this is kufur. These are amongst the kufur things. Now also, there are kufur sayings which are many. There are many. Like, for example, we said to swear at one of the esteemed matters within the religion. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. This is what a person needs to say if that happens. Immediately. If a person did any of these kufr things that are being mentioned, what do they say? La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, immediately. Without a delay, without being shy, without leaving the gathering and saying it outside, because they would be delaying, and even that, it is kufr. So a person needs to make sure that immediately they say, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Likewise, there are kufr beliefs. So sometimes, look, a person might not actually say something, and they might not do something with their body parts, but just by believing something in the heart or doubting about something in the heart, they would become a kafir. I'll give you an example. Like if someone doubted. Now, firstly, we know that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is not like the creation in any way. Whatever you imagine in your mind, okay, it is going to be creation. You can't imagine Allah. We don't even try. We're not even allowed to try. So if somebody doubts in their heart, now something they didn't say, but they didn't also carry out the actions, the doubt occurred in their heart, that is Allah like a man or not like a man? They actually doubted, where it became possible, it became probable that it's probable that Allah is like a man. They doubted. They were no longer sure. They were no longer certain that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is not like the creation. This person will become a kafir. Likewise, if a person believed in his heart that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has physical hands, then this person commits kufur, even though he didn't ever express that. Or a person believes, for example, that Allah is something that comes down, that Allah is up and that Allah comes down in the last third of the night and says, هَلْ مِن مُسْتَغْفِرٍ فَأَغْفِرَ لَهُ هَلْ مِن سَائِلٍ فَأُعْطِيَهُ. Some people, they believe that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is something big that comes down in the last third of the night to the clouds between the angels and says, is there anybody seeking forgiveness so that I may forgive him? Is there anybody asking so that I may give to him? A person who believes that, even if they don't ever utter it or write it down, if they believe that Allah is something that moves, is something that descends, is something that is in a place, is something that is above the clouds or even above that or on the arsh, this person would be a non-Muslim. This person would be a non-Muslim. This person would not be someone who is considered to be amongst those that are upon the truth. So it's important for a person to have the correct belief, to learn the correct belief. Otherwise, look how dangerous this is. A person might go their whole life thinking that they are Muslims. And it's no good lying to ourselves. Now, when it comes to belief, then matters are much more serious. But even in general, throughout life, to lie to yourself and tell yourself that, you're a good person. Oh, I'm a good person. And to say, I am someone who is sociable, I'm kind, everybody likes me, I get on with everybody, I don't have problems with anybody, and so on. Lying to oneself, it's not good for one's self-esteem. Okay? Now, also, considering that a person has never learned before. Now, I want to ask a question. Why is it that a lot of people, they think that getting into paradise, or they have this perception, let's say, of the world, that being a Muslim doesn't require, or getting to paradise doesn't require a lot of effort. Why is it that they think like that? Why is it? The Prophet ﷺ mentioned to some of his companions, هَلْ مِن مُشَمِّرٍ لِلْجَنَّةِ, meaning, who amongst you is ready, who amongst you is prepared to roll up his sleeves, meaning to work hard for paradise. Paradise is something that needs to be worked hard for. And this life, some people seem to think that just because a person is a Muslim, then, everything's okay. As though They can, as though it's okay for them to commit sins and to drink and to do all of these different things as long as they're Muslim. I even had somebody saying to me once, but we're Muslims, aren't we? So we're okay. And I said, yes, we're Muslims, but we still need to abide by the rules because we want to strive for the highest gardens of paradise. And at the same time, so we hope for that. And at the same time, we want to be saved from being admitted into hellfire, being tortured into hellfire and tortured in the grave. So it's important for a person to have this idea of, look, we might be punished. So let us escape that punishment by learning, by doing what we can in this life to give us more hope of being forgiven, or give us more hope of not being punished in the hereafter. So a person is required to learn what protects himself, how he protects himself from kufr. It's like, look, going to a battlefield. You take a shield with you, you take a sword with you, you take ammo with you. If you're going on a long march, if you're marching on a city, then you take rations with you. You don't go empty-handed. You don't go without any armor. You don't go without wearing the proper footwear. Otherwise, what's going to happen? You're going to feel cold. You're going to get stabbed. You're going to get cut. You're going to get killed. Now, in this life also, you need to equip yourselves. You need to armor yourself. You need to have the arsenal to fight with. You should be amongst the people who is striving to equip themselves with these instruments, with this protective material, so that you can be successful, so you can come out on top at the end. Now, if a person doesn't do that in this life, and they expect that, oh, we'll be okay, because we're Muslim, well, is that Muslim by name? Is that just by name that people are saying that we are Muslims? It's important for a person to learn. Now, these three types of kufr, they were mentioned by the scholars of the four schools. Al-Madhahib al-Arba'a, the Shafi'i school, the Hanafi school, the Hanbali school, and the Maliki school. So, for example, in the Shafi'i school, An-Nawawi and Ibn al-Muqri, highly ranked scholars amongst the Shafi'i school, they mentioned that kufr, it splits into three. It's one of three, either sayings, or it is actions, or it is beliefs. Likewise, you have in the Hanafi school Ibn Abidin. He mentioned that al-kufr splits up into three. Likewise, in the Hanbali school, al-Buhuti, he mentioned that kufr splits into three. And al-Imam in the Maliki school, al-Sheikh Muhammad Illaysh al-Maliki, mentioned that kufr, it is of three types also: the kufr beliefs, the kufr actions, and the kufr sayings. So a person, whoever wants to research that and look into that, then they are free to do so. And they should do, because this is something that pertains to the hereafter. Our Shaykh radiyallahu anhu, he gave it like this. He said, this is what the scholars, or these are the scholars that mention these issues in their books, and their books are full of them. فَلْيَنظُرْهَ مَنْ شَاءَ. Then whoever wants to have a look at them, then let them take a look at them. Okay? Because we're not hiding anything from anybody. Why is it that we're warning each other? Because we don't want our loved ones to fall into any torture. Likewise, us, I and you, we don't want ourselves to be on the receiving end of torture and torment, punishment in hellfire or the grave. So it's important for a person to work hard. Al-Kufr al-i'tiqadi, we've also already mentioned examples of Al-Kufr al-i'tiqadi. Al-Kufr which is in beliefs. Now, its place is the heart. The heart is where the intentions are. The heart is where certainty and doubt occurs. So if a person, for example, was to doubt about the existence of Allah, then this person is a kafir. Likewise, if they were to doubt about any one of the 13 attributes that it is obligatory upon us to know and to attribute to Allah, if a person doubted about the attribution of any one of them to Allah, then this person immediately would be judged as a kafir for having been ignorant about the godhood of Allah. If someone, for example, doubted, is Allah knowledgeable about everything? Then it is as though he has, hypothetically speaking, stripped godhood, stripped or denied the godhood from Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, as though he has negated godhood from Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Because one of the attributes of God is to know absolutely everything. So if someone doubts, does Allah know absolutely everything or not, then he's doubted in the godhood of Allah. He's doubted in the uluhiyyah of Allah, or also they say ilahiyyah of Allah. If he doubts about this attribute or any of the 13 attributes of Allah, it's as though he is saying, I am not sure if Allah is God. It's as though he's saying, I'm not sure if Allah is Allah. I'm not sure if God is actually God. And such a person would be a kafir. Because Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala mentioned in Al-Quran, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Indeed, the Muslims, the believers, are only the ones who believed in Allah and His Messenger. ثُمَّ لَمْ يَرْتَابُوا, أي ثُمَّ لَمْ يَشُكُّوا. ثُمَّ لَمْ يَرْتَابُوا means then after that they didn't doubt. They don't doubt, they are certain. Their certitude is solid. They don't have an atom's worth of doubt in their heart about the godhood of Allah. So if somebody does doubt about the godhood of Allah, meaning the attribution of the 13 attributes of Allah to Allah, then this person, it's as though he's saying, I am doubting about the godhood of Allah. And this person would hence be a kafir. The kufur actions we mentioned are many. One of the kufur actions where a person would commit kufur is when some Christians, what they do is with their hands. Okay, I'm not talking about drawing now. I'm talking about a symbol that they make. Okay, they start up here, then they will lower their hand towards the chest, then they would bring it back up towards the mouth and then take it to the left and take it to the right. What are they doing? They're making a cross. Making a cross in this way, I'm not talking about on paper. I'm talking about doing this action where sometimes you will see some footballers, when they come onto the pitch from the touchline, when they're being substituted, and they'll come on, they'll some of them will do this. Some of them, when they score a goal, they will do this. They will make a cross with their fingers. Like I said, they'll start at the top, they'll take the hand all the way down, and then they'll move their hand from left to right or right to left, signifying a cross. If a Muslim does that, then he becomes a kafir. Why? Because this is something that only a kafir does. This is min shi'ar al-kufr. This is amongst the signs of kufr. The very apparent signs. If you saw someone do that, instantly you'd say, oh, he's a Christian, isn't it? So if a person who attributes himself to al-Islam does that, he becomes a kafir straight away. This is why also now, to touch upon another topic, it's important for us to encourage our children to look up to Islamic personalities in the past, to read about their biographies, to take them as role models, not to emulate or want to be like the famous people of today, who are almost all of them are kuffar, and their habits are habits of the kuffar. And look at something like this. Some of them you might see, even some children who go out to play football and things, that when they score a goal, like a really nice goal, when it hits, the top, when it's in the top corner, hits the back of the net from long distance, or they lob the keeper or whatever, they might get excited and then they want to imitate some of the kuffar, and they might do that. and so on. This is kufr straight away, because it is a لأنه فعل لا يصدر إلا من كافر. It is something that only, an action that only a kafir does. Like throwing the Quran in the bin is something that only a kafir does. A Muslim doesn't do that. Likewise, there are other examples that the scholars mention, like to wear the robe of the Christians whilst wearing the special type of belt that they wear and walking into the church with the rest of the Christians. All of this, this scenario where a person is wearing the robe of the Christians with the belt, whilst with a large group of people walking into the church, the scholars judge this person for doing that in this scenario. For doing that, they said this person is a kafir, because that's something that only a Christian does. To dress like that whilst being amongst all the Christians walking into the church, this is something only a Christian does. So they give examples of kufr actions, and there are others also. And then you have the kufr sayings. Subhanallah, there are so many. You could say practically millions of kufr sayings. One of the kufr sayings that, one of the types of kufr sayings that I will focus on now is, if somebody knows something to be haram, if you know something to be haram, then to say, whilst remembering that it is haram, to say that it is halal, or that it is allowed, or that it is good, to say about something haram that it is halal, or say about something haram that it is good, or saying about something haram that it is allowed, saying about something haram that it's no problem, it's okay. All of this, whilst remembering that it is haram, this makes a person fall out of Islam. Because Allah eternally willed that this matter, like drinking alcohol, would be haram. Right? Now, for a person to know that Allah judged it to be haram, bad, evil, and for this person to say, no, it's good, you're belying Allah, and you're belying the religion of Allah. As though a person is saying, nah, Allah lied. As though a person is saying, oh, drinking alcohol is haram, I'm saying it's good. So as though the person is saying, nah, Allah lied. It's belying Allah, right? Likewise, anything that you know to be haram, to legitimize it by saying it's halal, or it's permissible, or it's good, then this is kufr. Likewise, the opposite. If someone knows something to be permissible and someone says, nah, that's haram, like this is sinful, whilst the person knows that it's not like that, then this would be kufr also. Now, there is the final case when a person doesn't actually know. Because of his ignorance, he says, for example, that, I don't know, something that's haram, he doesn't know that it's haram, he thinks it's halal, he says it's halal. Okay, he's not a kafir. He will be judged as a major sinner because of him giving a judgment without knowledge. That thing in the religion was haram. He said it's permissible. Okay, he wasn't actively belying the religion. It's not like he knew that it was haram and then so he said it's halal. No, he didn't know. But at the same time, he shouldn't have spoke, because there he gave a judgment without knowledge. That's actually a fatwa. وَمَنْ أَفْتَى بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ فَعَلَيْهِ لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةِ وَالنَّاسِ أَجْمَعِينَ. And whoever gives a fatwa, a religious judgment like that, without knowledge, then indeed upon him is the damnation, the la'nat of Allah, al-malaika, the angels, wan-nas ajma'in, and all the people. So it's important for a person to, if they don't know, to stay quiet. Man aghfala la adri faqad usibat maqatiluh. The one who neglects saying la adri, or I don't know, in these types of cases, and rather, speaks very loosely, This person is like usibat maqatilu. There are parts of the body where if they are struck, then this could lead a person to fatality. They might faint, for example, in the temple and other parts of the body. Each one is called a maqtal because it leads to al-qatl. It leads to al-maut. Fal-maqatil, a person who leaves out, la adri, they neglect, they abandon, la adri, as though they've been struck in these places where if they were struck, they'd be killed. Because destruction will come to this person. So, brothers and sisters, make sure that you continue learning the religious knowledge and you continue teaching to save yourselves, to save your loved ones, to save your friends. This is why we do this, seeking the reward from Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and seeking for our loved ones to be saved in the hereafter. Walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad, Rasulillah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.